37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a super exciting episode of Pixelated Paranormal. This is episode 305. My name is Sean. I'm back to wearing a tank top today, and with me, as always, is Preston. Presto, buddy, how are you?
What's up, all you cool ghosts and goblins, you crocodines and crocodingos, you skeletors, skelettes, and witchers and witches, and whatever the fuck else you want to be? Well, my refrigerator went the fuck out, so it's like 2 years old.
Ooh.
And, it ain't blowing cold, I'll tell you that. It ain't blowing cold. So.
That is not good, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So.
Well.
Daddy's not a happy camper.
I don't know what to say to that, man. That sucks.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, dude.
Yeah.
That's fucking brutal. Ugh. Well, the good news here is that we're back for another episode about creepy toys, dangerous toys, and hell, we might even talk about murderous toys. Who knows? That's right, folks. It's the holiday season, so we're back talking about toys. But we got to also introduce our special guest on this episode because with us tonight we have the one and only toy-making wizard himself, Baba Drock. Baba, how are you, man? Welcome back.
Oh, thanks. I'm excellent, dude. I'm chilling, literally, up here, getting cold finally, and making toys. So,
yeah,
I'm excellent.
Hell yeah, dude. What's the temperature like up there where you're at right now?
Oh, it's not bad. It's just now hitting freezing and in the 40s in the day. It was like frozen frost all day today, fog, frozen fog all day today. It was frost all over everything because it was just like ice in the air. So that was cool.
Wow. Yeah. We had a pretty good fog the other night here too. In Kansas, we get that kind of weird, like subtropic weather. I've heard they've actually categorized it as, and we had some real thick pea soup fog and everything just completely iced over, all the furniture on the deck and everything else is just, pretty wicked stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just ice in the air. It's great.
Always.
But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's great making toys, and the cold's not good for resin, so I got good heaters out here, so I'm all right.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Hey, speaking of resin, Preston, you're going to kind of dip your toes in the toy making too, right? Tell them what you're going to get a hold of here pretty quick.
So I don't know the model or anything, but I got a buddy who's got a buddy down in Oklahoma that just bought a new resin printer, and he's like, fuck it, I don't need this one. And so he's like, it's yours. And so I'm going to get a resin printer.
So, nice. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
I have thought about it. I'm like, I might get a small one here soon because everything's real tight in here. But
right.
Oh man, the stuff you can do with those things, man. Everybody's getting into them.
Yeah, you get like,
and it saves so much time on sculpting.
Yeah, the 3D scanners are relatively cheap now, so you can get a small 3D scanner.
Yep.
Make one, scan it. Make the STL file, fucking print that shit. It's like a factory over here, baby.
Exactly. Oh my god. Yeah. Yep. Precisely. It makes it so much easider. I'm
Hell yeah.
wicked jealous of all the guys that are doing their own stuff on those things.
It's kind of an interesting type of
someday we'll get there.
Yeah. It's interesting too, like sculpting versus printing. I mean, I think there's an art to both of them, but like Preston, you got your, experience in sculpting anyway, because you've got, your pottery wheel and you've done sculpting before. So, I mean, I'd be interested to see what you could do with both of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I always...
absolutely. The combination.
Yeah. Because I figured, look, you sculpt it first, and then basically I'm just making a 3D scan, and that's my mold, and then I'm just fucking fast producing that shit. So...
Shit, yeah, man.
But I was going to say, I always get excited when you're on the show because I'm like, Baba! And then I realize, like, your real name's probably just like Craig. And I'm just like, oh, damn.
No, it's Derek.
Oh, that's better. I was gonna be
Drop.
disappointed.
Drop.
Yeah. I was like, his
Yeah, there we
real
go.
name's Craig. I'm like, oh
Drop.
fuck, man, Craig, fucking dollar
I'm the
store.
bear. Dollar store.
Yeah.
Inside.
That's fun. Speaking of Craigs, we do have a Craig bot. You guys are going to see a fourth window on the screen.
The bear.
Yeah, Preston and I have never recorded the audio straight from the actual Discord channel, so we had to invite a bot to record for us. So just tip your hat, say hi to the AI, everybody. Well, this episode, we've been super stoked about this episode, man, because you yourself are, a toy making wizard. I've actually got about 4 things here lined up of yours that you've done. Presto and I are both big fans, man.
I got a GI Ghost.
I
got a GI Ghost.
Oh, dude, you got one of them. That's
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a Bigfoot soldier, of course, the Mapinguari, the drop bear that I got to work with you on, and then in the back, still probably my absolute favorite is your Capitello Ninja Turtle Kappa amalgam.
Oh man, thank you guys so much. Those are I love it. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to make these things that I just think are cool toys, and are the stuff that I'm into, that we're into, like cryptids, monsters mixed with also toys and 80s, 90s pop culture crap.
Yeah, dude. Just the best, man.
Yes.
I don't think you could combine anything cooler than those things. I think you may have answered the question back when you were on our episode about the drop bear, but I wanted to go ahead and ask you again quickly, what got you into toy making, man? Why did you want to become a toy maker?
Well, I was and still am, though I do it less, a painter, visual artist, do lots of acrylic painting, big stuff. And somebody had approached me about painting. I was doing lots of paintings of Bigfoot. I'm up here in the Northwest, and I'm like, I think I found like a subject that I could do all sorts of stuff on. And so I was painting lots of Bigfoot. And so somebody that was making resin Bigfoots got in contact with me and was like, hey, do you want one of these? If I'll give you one of these. They sell for quite a bit, if you do me a painting. Like, oh, most definitely. Absolutely. And then somebody else who was also making another different Bigfoot thing contacted me and was like, hey, you want to paint? I'm like, yeah, definitely. And so I got to talking to him. First one was Anasau. They make legendary Bigfoot and
yeah, man.
cool things.
One of these little guys right here. I've actually got a cute foot.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love the cute foot. I don't have
Little
one of those
guys.
They're so adorable. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
And then my good buddy, Extra Truck Estriel, and he has sort of been my mentor in this whole thing. And he was making Bigfoot stuff, and I followed him, and he shared a couple videos, and he was making silicone molds out of Legos.
Got one of his guys too.
Nice. And I was like, that looks so fun and cool. And I started seeing more people, a couple more folks making toys. And so I watched some videos and was like, I'm going to buy that because I love toys. I've always had a collection, like since forever. When I moved out of my parents' house, I brought my toy shelf with me. I was like a dork in the party house with 4 other dudes, and I had a giant toy shelf full of Dragon Ball Z and Ninja Turtles and stuff.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I was like, this works perfect. I love painting and making art of this type of stuff. Make the card backs and do all sorts of stuff. And I could make toys that I would want to make and customize them. And just opened up a whole world to like combine artistic interests into something that seems super fun and is very fun. So.
Hell yeah, man. And I noticed, like you mentioned, Extra Terrestrial and Anasau and everybody else, Street Farts as well.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Is so fucking huge, man. Yeah, I think you were the Street Farts on the Mapinguari here.
Yeah, he's a Portland graphic artist. Does, by the name, you can tell, does like lowbrow, great humor. That's awesome. Always doing great stuff. Big sticker packs for cheap. Street Farts.
yeah. Easy to remember. But yeah, the community is so big, man, and so welcoming, and it's just really rad to see that like nobody's really up their own ass about it, and everybody's kind of working with each other and kind of collaborating and stuff like that, man. So it's rad. I love it. Is it fair to call it bootleg toy making, or is there a more prestigious name for it now?
That's the name that has stuck, because it kind of spawned from that. Like that's what sort of inspires a lot of everybody is the Mexican and Polish bootlegs of all this stuff. But then certain people early that started the scene were like doing art pieces by making bootleg toys.
Yeah.
And so that's really what spawned the scene. Like a guy named the Suck Lord and Killer Bootlegs and stuff, like making art pieces out of what used to be just rip-off toys. And so it's a whole new thing. But yeah, the term bootleg toys stuck. People are now trying to call it more officially like artist-made action figures or artist-made figurines or something like that. But yeah, bootleg toys is the umbrella moniker for everything.
Yeah.
Even though what you see now is like custom 3D printed stuff that's created on their own and resin printed in multicolors, and you're like, that's in no way a bootleg toy. That's not a toy. That's just a crazy art piece, but it's in the same community, being the same guys making them. So
yeah, exactly. I think what's cool too is like you have other artists who are kind of continuing on different practices of like making Ninja Turtles that no one's heard of, or like one thing I love, like Presto, you can probably get into this too. With a resin printer, you can make like giant versions of stuff. You don't have to resculpt it. Like you can blow up and make 2 foot tall Ninja Turtles, man. It's just so wild to me, the different options that you can go on and make, man.
There's a guy who goes by Kerf Loss, and he did all the research he could into how they made the original Star Wars action figures with like the wax sculpting and the buck starter molds and how everything, and has taken everybody through the process of making his own figures in that exact same style and scale. And
Right.
oh man, like experimenting with all the different waxes, going through recipes from back then, and like it's just amazing. I mean, from that to people who just, copy a Chewbacca or a Boba Fett figure out of resin and fill it with glitter. And it's like both ends of the spectrum are just amazing. Yeah. Like
I would like to see like the style of He-Man figures, so just fucking swole action figures, but like do like Star Wars, like a swole like Jabba the Hutt with fucking like muscles, and I think that'd be a hit with all the kids.
I was like, I know I've seen a couple. I don't think I've seen Jabba the Hutt though. That one's good. That made me laugh.
Man, Preston sent me a meme the other day, and it was Jabba the Hutt twerking. I forget what it's called, Jabba the Butt, but that could be an action figure, man. It's so rad, yeah. Well, that's awesome, dude. I'm glad that our paths have crossed, man, and you've become a fan of the show, and it's been pretty rad, and there's nobody else better to talk about toys with than you, buddy, so.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. Absolutely. Always.
Most definitely, dude.
Always good to talk to you guys and talk toys and ghosts and spooky stuff. Yeah.
Well, let's kick it off with some round robin questions before we get into the toys we're going to talk about tonight. Presto and Drock, what are your favorite toys from your childhood? I know you kind of mentioned stuff earlier, Drock, but Presto, you start, man. What do you got? What were your favorite ones from childhood?
So my favorite action figures were the line of Toxic Crusaders. I had the the skateboard that Toxie rode on. Whatever the bad guy was from that cartoon. I had his little like smog airplane that he rode in on, and then the 1992 Batman Returns Batmobile that broke apart like in the movie. I fucking wanted that thing so bad, and my grandmother brought over these Christmas presents, and she had one that had my cousin's name on it, so it was like Danny. And I'm like, why the fuck did you bring this over, Grandma? Danny's not coming over. She's like, oh, I must have brought it over by mistake. And so I went through all these fucking toys, opened them up, and I was heartbroken because I didn't get my goddamn Batmobile. And she's like, go ahead and see what Danny got. I don't know. And I opened it up, and there was my Batmobile, and I was like, yeah, Christmas won. So
amazing stuff, man. Hell yeah. Brock, what about you, man?
Oh man, I mean, my definite favorite line is the, you know, original TMNT Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles line from the early 90s. Like, it was basically all I collected for that chunk of years. I had to get everything, all of them. They were just awesome. That was the bulk of it, dude. But the Toxic Avengers were also, I think, done by Playmates, or the Toxic
Playmates.
Crusaders. Yep, were also Playmates. So like, they were that same quality, same feel, and everything. I loved them. I had, Major Disaster, I think, and maybe somebody else. But those ones were harder to find. Those are great. Still super hard to find. But yeah, definitely Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I collected whatever. I didn't have any huge collections. I had a lot of hand-me-down He-Mans, few hand-me-down Transformers.
Dino Riders.
And like, Dino Riders were awesome. During my prime toy years, we were over in Japan. So we had one American toy store, or not even American toy store, American store, like the Navy freaking depot. I don't remember what it was called right now, but it was like the Walmart, you know, without groceries. It was the everything store that was on base.
The BX, right?
Oh man, I don't think that's what it was called, but it was something like that. Yeah. But the year Ninja Turtles came out, it like emptied out that day because all the parents knew what was going on and were there, and my parents showed up, and there was no figures, nothing. But I got a turtle van that year.
Yeah.
And so all my friends that had figures, I had a van. And it was, dude, let's go. We'll roll, man.
Yeah. We're gonna make this work. We're gonna make this work just
absolutely.
fine. That's cool, man. I was a military brat. So was Presto. I grew up in Texas for the first couple years of my life, and we had a little shop like that on base. It was called like the BX. I think they're also called like the AXPXs, maybe. But like you said, like a general store with like clothing and shoes,
everything,
stuff like that, and knickknacks, stuff like that. But yeah, man, I grew up the same era, man. My brother and I, we had the real Ghostbuster toys, which were just amazing. Tons of He-Man toys.
Oh yeah, we did get those.
Yeah. 80s and 90s was just the coolest toys, man.
And then by the time I got back to America in 89, 90, I was like 10. I was kind of still into Ninja Turtles, and like the Predator Alien line was first coming out when they were first pumping out those like crazy ones. And so I was kind of into those, collected a bunch of those. My little brother collected way more of those. He was into those for years.
I think that's how my brother and I were too. Like I grew up on his He-Man and Ghostbusters and stuff, and then I got into Turtles as he was kind of getting a little older and kind of moving out of that. But dude, TMNT were the coolest.
He still got to see all the cool ones that were coming out when you picked them up.
Exactly.
I just discovered the other day, and I didn't know this was a game, but apparently Capcom or Konami, who did Turtles in Time? Was it Capcom?
I think it was. Ooh.
Konami.
I thought it was Konami.
So they made another arcade cabinet, and it was Aliens vs. Predator, and you had two Predators, and then like Dutch, so Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then some chick, and it was a 4-player like beat 'em up, just like Turtles in Time. So I watched like some fucker on YouTube play that for like 3 hours the other day, and I'm like, how the fuck did I not know that this existed? Like, I would have totally wasted my childhood, like allowance every week going to
absolutely
the
never
smashing the fuck out of those buttons. So,
dude, yeah. My brother found an emulator that was a side-scrolling beat 'em up of He-Man, which was pretty rad too. We played that, and again, video game making is kind of like toy making. Like, there's a lot of bootlegs out there, and like, if you can animate some sprites, you can make some real cool shit.
Oh, absolutely.
You know it. Well, I was a big TMNT fan as well. Super 7 makes some pretty cool, designer toys. I've got this big old beefy bad boy, Muckman.
The Muckman.
Dude, he was my absolute favorite. He comes with a little Joe Eyeball here. My favorite all-time action figure. Back before they marked these things up to like $60 a pop. I think this was like 30, which is still kind of stupid to buy, but I mean, also it's Muckman, so give me a break. He has a hard time standing up.
I can't remember the artist's name right now, totally escaping me, but I saw a guy who just made like a 30-inch Muckman resin printed.
Jeez. Yeah, it might have been like,
Like, oh, it
gosh,
was
like,
giant, dude. It was
yeah.
monstrous.
I know
Oh,
DeFoot
it's phenomenal.
Toys and Turbo Pork and some of those guys are
Oh,
really
yeah,
heavy.
yeah.
But I think I know who you're talking about because I saw someone made a giant scumbug
I've
not too
been.
long ago. But
Okay, yeah.
well, the funny thing about Playmates is down in Pauls Valley, Texas, like right as you're leaving Oklahoma getting into Texas, there's an action figure toy museum down there, and it's super rad. And if you find yourself down there, it's worth a little detour. The guy that runs it, his name is Kevin Stark, and like I'll make this story quick, but we were kind of meandering through this museum, and my wife kind of ventured off away from me. And I'm standing there in front of a Playmate display of like all these turtles, and I'm just kind of, simultaneously thinking like, I know how I blew that one up. I knew what I did to that one. That one got shot by a BB gun. I had like 40 some turtles, man. I was very, very blessed in the turtle department growing up. And like this dude keeps kind of shadowing me walking around, and he's wearing like a real nice suit and tie, and his hair's pulled back in a real nice ponytail, and he's wearing like flip flops. And finally, like he gets close enough where like I have to make small talk, and so he kind of beats me to the chase and says, "Hey, so are you a collector?" And I was like, "Oh man, nothing like any of this. Like I got some cool stuff at home, but like I'm just a nerd who collects toys." Come to find out, this is his whole collection. He used to be one of the illustrators that worked at Playmates, and so they'd come to him and say,
That's
"All right,
awesome.
man, this is the guy. His name's Muckman. He's made out of trash." And sketch it up. What's it look like? Once it's basically approved, it would go off to the sculptor who would sculpt it based off his sketches. He was telling me the tale of basically how Toxic Crusaders pretty much kind of did Playmates in because they had such success with Turtles, and Turtles are starting to slow down, and so the owners are like, we need more stuff, make more cool stuff. They got the rights to the Toxic Avenger, made a whole line, and all of a sudden kids were like, oh my god, Major Disaster and Toxie, these are so cool. And then Turtle sales, all but just slid off the table. And then Toxic Avenger shot straight up, and basically they were fighting with themselves and ended up kind of putting themselves under. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Because I had outgrown Turtles, but then the Toxic Crusaders came out, and like I was actually already a fan, though I don't know if I had seen the Toxic Avenger movie yet, but I knew of it even at like 11, 12. Because I had seen a giant cardboard cutout at the local video rental place with my grandma, and I'm like, dude, I need to see whatever that is.
Whatever that thing is wearing a tutu, I gotta watch that shit.
Yeah, it was a giant cardboard of Toxie, and I was like, oh my god. And then the cartoons were on when, a year or two later or whatever, when I was back home, and like, this is phenomenal. But I wasn't as into Turtles. That makes total sense. That's so funny and horrible.
Yeah, it was just like ever so slightly more mature than Turtles was, and it had just a little bit more of a, presence about it that kind of was lustrous to kids who were like, going out of grade school into middle school, but they were still kind of cool with toys. And presto, there's a side-scrolling game coming out here pretty quick. It's going to be a Toxic Crusaders side-scroller like Turtles in Time.
Fucking sign me up.
Yeah.
Oh, dip, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, we got super lucky, and in Wichita there is the Tallgrass Film Festival every October, and last year Lloyd Kaufman, the creator of Toxic Avengers, he rolled through town, and we actually got to watch Toxic Avenger with him. He did live commentary, got to meet him afterwards. Super cool guy, nicest dude you could ever meet.
That is awesome.
He's like, I just want to make
hilarious. Every time you see videos of him, he's just nice and hilarious. Like,
yeah. You couldn't imagine a nicer dude. Like, I went in there with a couple drawings I did of Toxie. I was like, hey, I drew this for you. I signed it, put a little note on it for him. And he's like, hey, you should bring me a stack of these tomorrow morning. I'll sign 50 or 60 of them for you, and you can sell these things all over eBay. And I just remember thinking to myself, well, shit, I only made 6. Small run. And like, this dude's totally cool. Doesn't charge for autographs. And he's just like, yeah, make a few bucks, man. That's cool. And I just thought, damn it.
That's so sweet.
I know.
That's awesome.
But well, what do you guys think it is about like the toys from like our generation that was so captivating to not only hook us as children, but like just strongly keep us in their grasp, like nowadays, as we're guys, our age. I won't, give away our age, but guys our age and older, what makes it so cool about these toys that we still love these things as much as we did?
I think by that time they were like really nailing down archetypes and stuff. Like through the 70s and early 80s, they were experimenting with the most out there characters. And like by the later 80s and, you know, later 80s, 90s, they were really figuring out like what personalities and looks would sell to kids. And so by nailing down these like strong archetypal characters, it has real resonance. Everybody can relate to different people, different characters, different ways, or you know, see themselves as one of these things or wish they were. And and also, you know, a big part of our generation stuck at being 12. So there's that.
Right. That's why you have companies like Super 7 and NECA who are like, all those kids from the 80s and 90s, they're now in like their 30s and 40s and they got money. So now we can remake Turtles and sell them for, you know, 10 times what they were. Or like, you know, NECA has got their hands in these Universal monsters. You know, they'll drop $30 for, you know, a Boris Karloff mummy. Because, all these nerds, now they have money. They don't have allowances, they have jobs. Presto, what do you think, man? Why are you still into this kind of stuff as, you know, an adult?
I think the you know, the biggest part of it is the tie-ins to the cartoons that they use to promote these toys. So like, you know, watching like the G.I. Joe movie, right? Or the Transformers movie and those fucking killer 1980s soundtrack, and then like the next Christmas they have the fucking G.I. Joe, you know, $300 fucking Air Force carrier that every kid wanted that hardly any of us got, and these toys were just so cool. Like you have the Ghostbusters movie and they have like this full on like proton pack and like the you know, little ghost trap. And the tie-ins, like, so all the stuff that, like, reminds me of my childhood, and then the tie-ins, like, with these movies are, like, you know, making the Saturday morning cartoons. What was the, there was the one that they had, like, the skeletons that, you know, flew around on, like, little motorized bikes, and they're, like, the Skeleton Warriors or whatever it was. And, you know, they had, like, a couple years later, they made a PS1 game. You had the Saturday morning cartoon. So there are all those different tie-ins, like the Uncanny X-Men, like when Fox made that, but then you actually got the line of action figures that matched the shit that you were watching on Saturday morning. Or like you think of TMNT, like it became so popular that like you would watch the show and then like a couple months later they would produce the action figure. You're like, well, I just watched that episode. That was my favorite episode. Now I got little Raphael and like, you know, a fucking astronaut suit. Like, you don't really you don't really get that nowadays. Now it's just like, they have like some shitty Hollywood movie and they make some crappy action figures and then that's it. But there's no other tie-in like they had back in like the 80s and the 90s. And so I think that's why it's so memorable. Like, because now not only do I still have a lot of those action figures from when I was in childhood, but, you know, me and the kids can actually get on Vudu, get on YouTube and actually watch these cartoons, and they're like, "Oh, it's fucking rad, Dad." I'm like, "I know, it is fucking rad, nerds."
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Enoch's, or my son's, pretty selective about the cartoons, but yeah, some of them he really loves, and like, but yeah, that all goes back to the power of advertising, and like,
dude.
The originator of like the first one that really set off this like toy collecting scene is He-Man. And I mean, that was a cartoon made to sell the toys. Like they had the toys and
literally,
they're like, we're going to make a cartoon to sell these toys.
Every Saturday morning, we're going to have a 20-minute commercial.
Exactly.
But I did it. I sat there with my Grayskull and my He-Man, my Skeletor, and then my bowl of Fruity Pebbles, and I would reenact the episode as they're doing it blow for blow, man, just spilling cereal everywhere. I made a... one time I got a bowl of milk, and I put it under the trapdoor Castle Grayskull and put all the cereal on top of it. I dropped the cereal through the trapdoor into my bowl because that's how big of a dork I was.
That is phenomenal.
Yep. I think you guys nailed it though, man. It all wraps back up to nostalgia, man. We were watching the new Ghostbusters, my brother and I, and There's that scene. I won't ruin much for anybody, but by now I hope you would have watched it. But there is a scene when they're in that town. That ghost comes flying around the corner, and it's got the big old eyeball on the forehead and the little arms. And the bug-eyed ghost was the action figure that was based off of. And like, I'll be damned if I didn't get teary-eyed and my nose burning when that thing came around the corner, because that was like my favorite ghost from the Ghostbuster toys, man. Yeah, you squeeze its body and the eyeball shoots out on this little rope, dude.
Yeah,
It was so rad.
absolutely.
It was absolutely rad. Well, what's cool now too, like I don't have any kids, of my own, but our niece Monica, she's really big into turtles, and it's almost too much to keep up with because, like, we had the Ninja Turtles. That was the cartoon. Now you've got like the 2000, what was it, 2002, 2003, 2004. When it came out, it was a little bit more adult.
Oh, yeah.
Then you had the 2012, and then you had the rise of the Ninja Turtles, and then you had the new Mutant Mayhem. Like, she's just chewing this stuff up, man. She's got a bunch of Mutant Mayhem toys, and it's just incredible that something can survive that long. And like, now I can sit here and not only be proud of her, but also argue with her that no, in fact, the 1989's toys and TV show was the best. And they should not have mythical powers, but I digress.
Have you watched the Mutant Mayhem? Like, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, dude. It's fucking awesome. Yep. Yeah, apparently there's a sequel movie, and then after the movie, they'll have a series on Paramount.
Nice.
So strap in, boys. We're going to be well into our 50s digging on turtles. Well, let's shift gears a little bit here and kind of get on track for the topic. What's the creepiest toy you guys remember from childhood? Is there anything that stood out to you guys that was just like batshit crazy terrifying?
No.
Like, so Teddy Ruxpin always seemed really cool, and I got I never got one. Well, I didn't get one right when they came out. I first watched the cartoon. I think there was a movie and stuff, and I'm like, oh, Teddy Ruxpin's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then when I first saw one, it was already old and beat up, and like the batteries were dying.
So we're trying to talk like
terrifying. This is not cool. Like, it's not brightly colored and soft and fluffy, and like.
It just kept mumbling brains over and over. Oh shit! Yeah, man. My brother and I.
Any of those talking dolls or anything animatronic and talking can be super freaky.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I'm glad you brought that up because my brother and I had an animatronic toy. I want to say it came from a garage sale or like a secondhand kind of situation, but this thing was called Mr. Game Show, and I told the story many, many, many moons ago. But it's like this little guy on like a giant cartoon head, and his jaw would flap and his head would turn around. It was kind of like a Wheel of Fortune Monopoly-esque game. But this thing, it would turn itself on in the middle of the night constantly. And just, it had these really weird, slightly offensive put downs as well. Like, it would just kind of, insult your intelligence, call you names and stuff like that if you weren't smart enough to answer the questions. And my brother just messaged me the other day, and he's like, hey, when you guys talk about haunted toys, make sure you mention the fucking Mr. Game Show. This thing was just the wildest, I don't even know how to describe it, just terrifying, man. And it would just wake up in the middle of the night and just turn on and just start going to town on the insults for no reason. It was just really weird.
Wow, that is so bizarre. Like, okay, so one of the only other notes I have here that's like a creepy toy, old school stuff, is my wife, but then girlfriend, like shortly after high school or whatever. She had a game called You Don't Know Jack. That was a quiz. That was a talking quiz thing. That was similar to, like, insulting in your when you got it wrong, and would come on and be loud and obnoxious, and would do it at all hours of the night, and would just do it randomly, and then start like buzzing and do shit. And I'm like, that is so bizarre that it's the same type of feeling there.
Yeah, I mean, we could chalk it up to just, batteries turning on, batteries about to die, stuff like that, or a ghost in the machine, which is what I kind of want to rely on, With Mr. Game Show, something... Kevin and I talked about was like, it didn't just kick on and start the game up. It would kick on and just start insulting you.
But see, the thing about things with batteries and things with the ability to speak and stuff like that, they make great conduits for any sort of thing that wants to use it for communicative purposes or whatever type of purposes. Like, it's a great way to, like any sort of spirit box or stuff that you expect them to talk through. Why wouldn't they use something that has flickering electricity and the ability to say stuff? And so of course it could just be the batteries, but
for sure,
could be anything. They make great
like you said, a conduit, Preston. It's kind of like the those what do you call those? I just had like the obelisk that we were using, and like the spirit boxes that go through the radio channels and flick out words that are already on the airwaves. That's terrifying.
Mr. Game Show.
I know. I was going to say, Kevin, if you're listening, when you listen, we need to bring Mr. Game Show on a ghost hunt and just have that thing just put us down constantly.
You
turn it on and be like, all right, do you have anything to say?
You're a loser.
If there's any spirits here, can you please, just move the ball? It looks like we have ourselves a wiener. I mean, winner. Okay, well, rounding it out here, what's the creepiest toy you've ever come across now as an adult? Have you seen any weird commercials? Have you come across stuff, secondhand that you've, found in a Goodwill or, like, at a garage sale?
Yeah.
Presto, anything, buddy?
I went to the wife and I, we had this thing where we go out to, antique stores. Like, we go through a small town, we'll stop at an antique store, and we were up in McPherson one time, and we stopped at this antique mall, and they had this doll from like the 1920s, and it was like this little like fat kid with like a bullhead cut, and he was like,
"You're talking about me in the 5th grade."
Yeah, but he had like a almost like a Dutch boy. Kind of like outfit, like a red coat and like short shorts, but like the face looked like it had been like melted, and like it was just so fucking creepy, and it had like the glass eyes, and it was like $180, and I'm just like, fuck, I bet this thing is haunted. I think we should buy it. She's like, I don't want that thing in our house. Like, I know.
Right.
Like, if I have to wake up in the middle of the night and I get up to go use the bathroom and I see that thing, I will have a fucking heart attack and die, and you will be the reason of my death. And I'll be like, you're right. So we won't get it, but I wanted it.
Just put it in your he shed next to what Lazarus is going to send you.
Yeah. Come on, Lazarus. Come on.
Your shed of things we don't talk about.
Yeah.
What about you, Drock, man? Have you come across anything that was batshit crazy?
No, but I mean that's like the whole thing is in all the research I did, or since you guys asked me, I'm like, I'm gonna watch and look up a bunch of stuff. I make more like action figure type art.
Sure.
I didn't find anything about haunted action figures. I think they're ghost proof as far as that goes.
Too, man. Spirits don't get anywhere near He-Man or Skeletor.
Exactly. But dolls or anything stuffed or anything that has fake eyes, like just dozens and dozens of stories, tons and tons. Like, I mean, the same. I haven't. There's certain dolls and stuff out there that's like creepy, but nothing that's been haunting. That's like recent as an adult that I have some friends in the art toy scene that make some like super, if you want to call it haunting, or like people that aren't weirdo art fans or horror art fans might be like, wow, that's terrifying. But no. But yeah, with the dolls, like one of the creepiest things, this goes way back to when I was a kid. We were in Japan, and so my dad was on Westpac. He was gone out on, on somewhere in the Navy. And we had made good friends with this other family who had 2 boys and a mom. So we would always stay at their house, me and my brother and my mom over at their house. And it was an older Japanese house, weird storage room. Bathroom was like half outside, all stone. It was cool. And her mom loved to keep creepy ass ceramic dolls with the fabric dolls with the ceramic faces and like in rocking chairs in their spare room and like on the bed and everything. and those things definitely freaked me out. I didn't want to touch them.
Yep.
But at their house with those kids, it made me think. I'm like, that's the only place I maybe saw a ghost or something. Like we saw an orb in their spare room. Me and the other two boys were running around and opened a door and saw like just this ball of light floating in front of there. It was in front of like a picture with glass, but there wasn't a light behind us or any light on in the room. And we all were terrified and went and ran in their room and hid. And like, I was thinking about their house, thinking about the dolls. And I was like, oh, dude, I felt it again. I was like, oh, yeah, that was creepy as crap. It could have been a light. It could have been something. But like, all three of us boys were like freaking out immediately. Yep. And like, but yeah, no, they had super creepy dolls. Dolls are creepy. But in general, if I see something that I'm like, that's creepy, creepy toy, I like it. So I'm not.
You're checking the price on it and seeing what shipping.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. You got it, man. You got it, man. The things that creep me out. Are you familiar with the Anna Lee elves? They're like little Christmas dolls. They're like stuffed. I think the original ones were stuffed with like probably sawdust. If you guys have a chance, Google Anna Lee elves. They're creepy little hand-painted little Christmas dolls. They still creep me out as an adult. And Shayla also learned I have kind of a weird unbridled fear of like just vintage Santa Claus dolls. Like you said, Drock, the ones that have like a hard head, that'll have like a plush body, and they have this kind of a weird grin where they're kind of like just looking over to the sides, smiling. Those things creep me out. We go to antique stores, and she'll find them, and she'll be like, all right, I'm going to get this one. And not only are they entirely too pricey, but they're entirely too scary as well. But those things creep me the hell out, dude. Anna Lee, anything she does just freaks me out, man. Oof.
Those are great. They remind me. Yeah. Oh, man. I have these two that I got from my grandma that are... I wasn't sure. Like, I figured they were some kind of elves. They're just in green, weird tights. They have giant bald heads and kind of pointy ears.
Gross.
Oh, dude, they look like grays with elf ears, kind of.
Oh,
and they're
shit,
like
yeah.
sitting in like counter, almost Burt Reynolds poses, like they're bookend pieces. And they're these weird little sitting elves with these giant. And I didn't really realize they were elves until my wife said it earlier this year. Because they probably had felt hats, or they probably had hats of some kind.
Yeah.
But now they just have these giant egg-shaped heads. And they're these little dudes in green suits. And I like them because they remind me of, like, I can't remember any alien abduction stories right off the bat, but when they would talk about elves and stuff.
Yeah, man,
like, in like pre-flying saucer days, way before then, people would have encounters where people or magic people or elves would take them up to somewhere else. And I'm like, oh my God, these are probably that midway point. Like, you know how they might appear to you as whatever you're seeing in current common nomenclature and common whatever is the imagery for your time. I'm like, oh man, this is like when elves were turning into aliens. The cross section was happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we talked about that during that. What is it now? A 4-part series, Thieves in the Night, about like just the commonalities of the Fey folk and aliens.
The Fey folk.
Yep. Yeah. I guess I'll go ahead and say this too. I have kind of an unnatural fear of Elf on the Shelf too, because of that very reason.
I hate Elf on the Shelf, dude, but those two little things are phenomenal. Like,
creepy as shit, man. Creepy as shit. Well, last episode when we got together, Preston and I talked about Annabelle and also a haunted Toys R Us. Annabelle kind of ended up being the real OG, haunted doll, so to speak. Of course, you have the tale of Robert the Doll and how that inspired Child's Play and everything else. But yeah, we kind of exhausted haunted dolls all in one whack. But that's all right. It's still worth mentioning, what is it about dolls that make dolls so fucking creepy? Right? Is it like the uncanny valley? Is it the fact, like you said, they've got eyeballs so they're just drawn to the supernatural? I could find all these stories of like 100 different names for 100 different haunted dolls. Like, Lee, haunted doll, he sits on a shelf, and if you put any other doll on the shelf, he knocks them all on the floor. And, Terry, the haunted doll who walks around the room by herself and all that kind of stuff. But unsurprisingly, Talkie Tina from the Twilight Zone, Fats from Magic, the Clown from Poltergeist, Chucky and Child's Play, Annabelle from The Conjuring. Dolls are just all over pop culture. I don't know what it is about them that makes them so, rife for Hollywood and pop culture, but I mean, they're not wrong. Dolls are scary as shit. But even before Talkie Tina was saying, I don't think I like you, dolls haven't only existed, but they've been, found all the way from ancient Egypt and Rome, all the way into present day, culture. These things were put as servants in pharaoh's tombs. They were aids in fertility, and they were also tools to teach your children, how to be a parent themselves, or just something a lonely only child could tell all their secrets to as, some kind of super cheap therapist. But in other cultures, they're more than just dolls. They're art pieces or religious artifacts. So whatever it is about them, it makes them terrifying. And that brings me to the first Misfit toy I want to talk about. Presto, if you can throw up a photo for me here, buddy. I sent you guys a commercial for Hasbro's Little Miss No Name, the most terrifying doll to probably ever grace toy shelves. Rob sent this to me via a TikTok where they actually show the commercial for this creepy little doll. Her name is Little Miss No Name. She was modeled after these orphan waif paintings of Margaret Keane. This little doll had unkempt hair, she had rags for clothes, and a permanent tear on her face that you could actually adhere by sticking the pin through the hole under her eyeball. And she had an outstretched arm with the hand in kind of a begging type of, pose. This thing was just sad and just awful, and it's a wonder why they didn't sell off the shelves. Now, the narrator on the commercial says stuff like, Little Miss No Name is sad because she doesn't have a pretty dress. And you have violin playing behind, and there's like a snowstorm, a little girl's looking through her window, and this poor doll's out in the middle of the street because by then, dolls are already murdering people.
So do you think
and then
that nomenclature of they treat me like the redheaded stepchild? If you look at this doll with her red hair, her greasy red hair, and like her red eyes, and like the shitty little gown thing that she has on, it's like this like little stepchild that nobody wanted. Like, oh, look at her, so pathetic. You should love it. So fucking gross. Little Miss No Name. Give it a home, fucking weebs.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say how like the doll itself is scary, it's horrifying, but like the thought that like orphans were so common that they're like, we should make a doll of those. Yeah. Kids would love to like just have an orphan of their own. Mom, everyone should take care of one.
Mommy, for next Christmas, instead of another little Miss No Name doll, can we go down to the orphanage and you can get me a real one? I'll take real
just
good
give
care
me a real orphan.
I'll take her out and everything. I mean, this is 1965, so we're talking about Barbie. This doll came out to basically combat like the glitz and glam of Barbie. Little Miss No Name was legitimately like the anti-Barbie.
Oh, that's so weird.
And apparently they didn't sell, and I don't know why. The narrator goes on to say, she doesn't have any shoes. She doesn't even have a name. You'll find Little Miss No Name standing in the snowstorm box at your toy store. This thing was so sad, the actual acetate on the front of her box had a snowstorm painted on it. Like, she literally is wandering the streets barefoot in a burlap sack, crying in the middle of a gosh darn snowstorm.
She's fucking homeless, so you should buy her and give her a home.
Right. And it even says on her package, I need someone to love me. I want to learn to play. Please take me home with you and brush my tear away. Which makes me wonder, like, could you remove the tear once she was happy and you gave her something besides a burlap sack that had a safety pin holding it on?
That's what I was hoping, but I'm like, no matter how much the child loves it, she's always going to be sad.
whole thing. That has to be the creepiest thing. And what's funny too, here talking about like the relationship of, toys and dolls and the paranormal. This thing had the biggest bug eyes, to which I wouldn't want it in my house. If I was a kid, it would either have a blanket on it or I would have somehow lost it by throwing it in the garbage.
Yeah, it was kind of different from the like doll style of that time, at least. Like it almost has a modern, creepy American but anime inspired type look. The big head, the kind of big eyes,
dude.
but still almost realistic. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm telling you, man,
it's a little disturbing.
Literally, they should have made this into Annabelle. Yeah. I think that would have been terrifying, and I'd have a lot of respect for that whole entire series if this was Annabelle.
The problem with the line was that once you buy one, you don't need to buy any accessories or anything like Barbie. Barbie, you got to buy her all sorts of different clothes, shoes, a house. Little Miss No Name? No.
Yeah, this bitch,
she's not used to it.
This bitch is poor.
You can make her your own shoes. You got paper bags.
Yeah, you can give her a potato and she'll be just as happy.
She'll be stoked. So they never made any money, because like Barbie was all about the accessories.
Right. I think they should have dumped the money they put into this, and Hasbro should have just adopted a bunch of orphans, and they would have had a hell of a lot bigger impact than making this trash heap, man. It's probably right next to a... Go ahead.
That was my other point in the messages earlier, where there's so many orphans out here. Maybe we should do something about that. Oh, maybe,
yeah.
We'll teach the kids to care. Maybe they'll do something about it.
Yeah, right. 40 years from now, maybe they'll do something about it, and we won't have this problem anymore. No, unfortunately, I think she's probably in the neighboring landfill to that one that has all those E.T. Atari games.
No,
I think there's another landfill documentary that's going to come out about Little Miss No Name, and we're all going to be really excited about it. They actually ended up doing some kind of cross promotion. Gosh, who was it with here? I'm trying to figure it out. With some kind of like chocolate milk company, and they did a cross promotion where they're like, you can order yours here. She has no fancy clothes, but with a tear, she'll let you know she needs your love for her to grow. And it was some kind of, I think it was like Highland milk or something like that. But for $3.99, you can mail away and get your very own 15-inch Little Miss No Name. I think it's Little Miss No Thanks for me, dog. Well, up next in our story here, we're kind of crossing and we're merging dolls with potential murder. Next, we have a name I hope I'm not going to mispronounce, but it's going to be this really interesting Brazilian children's TV show character called Fofeo. And again, please pardon me if I mispronounce this. I think it's Fofeo. So, Preston, next picture, if you would, sir, just the one of him sitting down, cross-legged. So, Fofeo is a fictional character from the 1980s Brazilian children's TV series called Boleio Mágico, and later TV's Fofeo. He was portrayed by Brazilian actor and humorist Orival Passanini, who was asked to create a children's character for Boleio Mágico. Now, Orival had never really worked with children, so he had no idea what he was doing or what he wanted to create. So he went with, these ideas he had to the drawing board. He thought, you know what? Kids like dogs. They like pigs. They like clowns. They like teddy bears. Hell, even, extraterrestrial aliens are kind of big with kids right now. Even dumb old human beings can sometimes be fun. And at the drawing board, he just kept racking his brain. What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to make? Suddenly realizing how successful Steven Spielberg had just been with E.T., despite the fact that he personally thought E.T. was a very ugly character with a disgusting physical appearance and a head that looked like an inverted foot.
So are those testicles on his cheek? Because those look like he's like rocking some ball sacks on his face.
Yes.
How do I make E.T. without making E.T.? I know, testicle cheeks.
Yeah.
Even though he himself was anti-E.T., he still thought the character itself was very inspiring because the extraterrestrial had such great heart and very charismatic. So Orival decided to take all the ideas he had at his drawing board, mix them all together into one giant, weird-ass, creepy-looking creature in what resulted as Fafeo, which debuted in 1983. And the character became this.
I can see
What's
that.
it?
Like,
Did you see that? Yeah,
I had
yeah.
no idea. Like, look, I've seen this character before, and I'm like, that's the most horrifying, bizarre thing ever. But when you gave that list of influences, I was all of a sudden like, oh, I get it.
It's like, you know what? I can see, yeah. I can see the
now.
pig face and the alien. I can even see his testicles when he was standing over the mirror
E.T. the
on the bathroom floor.
Hold my beer. Hold my beer.
I finally get it. He just doesn't understand children and combined all of his ideas.
Hold on,
That
it's
makes
extraterrestrial,
sense.
not extra testicle?
Yeah.
Ah, I made a mistake.
Dang it.
Eddie Torres, the extra testicle.
Jesus. Well, the character becomes this huge hit among Brazilian children in the early 80s, and despite looking like some kind of chipmunk with a giant scrotum for a face who's also cosplaying as Chucky, he ended up landing a couple of his own TV shows and tons of his own licensed products, including several musical albums and a really highly sought-after doll. His show ran from 1986 to like 1989 called TV Fofeo, and we even saw the return of the character in 1994 running through 1996, with his final appearance being in 1998. So this thing was beloved by many people. But let's move things over to why he's a creepy doll other than his appearance. See, at the end of the 1980s, this urban legend popped up, and it tore through Latin America about how the plush Fofeo dolls secretly had a supposed knife that were hidden inside the bodies of this mass-produced doll. And it has been hidden inside the toys supposedly meant for carrying out evil rituals and even being meant to be used to sacrifice children. Preston, if you would please, the next picture, the severed Fofeo doll on a
you got it,
garden
dog.
pike.
You got it.
Thanks, buddy. And as the urban legend continues to spread its way across the globe, the doll even started to be compared to Chucky himself. That's right, folks, the killer doll from Child's Play. Because according to the legend, some Fofeo dolls were even cursed. It would come to life in the middle of the night, and then the doll's head would supernaturally separate from its plush body, revealing a large knife blade that's supposed to be some kind of twisted spinal column. And then the Fofeo doll would repeatedly stab the child laying next to it, all while it was sleeping peacefully next to them, none the wiser. And you see in that picture there, it is kind of strange. You have the doll, you have the nutsack face and the pig nose, and you can see how it's got this really long spike, which is more than likely, Drock, you can probably attest to this, used to plow through the stuffing and give it a little bit of support so the head doesn't just flop around.
Yeah, I was looking into it. Like, yeah, it's clearly a built-in support for the doll. I don't know if there was some sort of internal structure that it actually... There was probably a tube inside of there that it kind of slid into.
A tube or a sheath.
Exactly. So yeah, something inside of there that kind of would hold it in. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the image is particularly horrifying. Like it's really iconic. Like to see that head with a little spike sticking out of it. You're like, oh, that is nightmare fuel, movie material.
It is, man. See, move over, Annabelle. There's a new doll in town. It's Fofeo with severed head stabbing children.
When you were reading the part about how the doll would separate its head and stab the child, I'm like, oh, and then it hides its knife back in the body and no one knows.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a
Brazilian yokai is what this is, man.
It's passed to the thrift store to murder another child.
That's how it got away with it for all these years.
It's just...
it just slides back in.
Exactly.
Well, oddly enough, as bonkers as the story might sound, in recent years, the mystery was partially confirmed when it was revealed the doll had a pointed hard plastic object in its as its spinal cord. Yep, when you took the doll apart, they actually did have this long pointed plastic spike that attached their heads into the body, designed to anchor and support the weight of the big bulbous head inside the plush body.
Yeah,
but
precisely. It's not the safest way to build a toy. Like they
Dude,
could have
it's
came up with
not.
something that wasn't a spike. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
man, I beat
it's the
the-
80s and 90s. Safety wasn't really fuck safety. Okay, let's get them toys made. Fuck them kids.
it's like
You know?
kids are known for pulling the heads off of dolls, and if you make
Oh,
one
dude,
that won't
yeah.
pull the head off it, you have a giant spike. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, no one thought
Imagine
this
the
through.
Imagine the sociopath who moved on from pulling heads off of Barbies to Fafeo, and he's just like, shink.
Cha-ching!
Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised that's not. That's probably some story that's been buried in the annals of some newspaper, man. That's out there somewhere.
I mean, it's all in Brazil, and it was all Fafeo, so like we wouldn't hear about it. We'd never heard about that.
That's
Like
true. Yeah.
Boy
yeah.
takes
They
streak
could
and
not
testicle
sell
head
that,
doll
like-
and stabs friend in eye.
exactly, because like we had what was it, the My Buddy doll, and then that became Chucky. And that was
Yep.
all already happening and done in America by the time Fafeo was going on in Brazil. So, like,
Mhm.
there's no way they could sell this testicle-faced, adult-sized man to American audiences. Like,
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's highly sought after now.
oh
But-
yeah, oh absolutely, dude. If I'm sure collectors are looking for those things.
The
Like,
balls you want to play
Jeez
with,
Louise, man.
Fafeo.
Yeah. Well, now I won't get into the gory details because we've shared the story once already, but there was a murder inspired by Chucky, where these two kids kind of unwillingly led a third boy off into the woods where they beat the snot out of him, killed him, and then inserted batteries into him, hoping to resurrect him as their own doll. Yeah, if you ever want to,
wow.
yeah, if you want to know the gory details, just type in "Child's Play murders" or the murder of what was his name? James Bolger back in 1993. Yeah, it's a sad story, and I didn't have time to put a disclaimer up, and I wasn't going to get into it anyway. So. Well, Preston, I'm glad you brought up safety, because who needs safety? Do you guys remember creepy crawlers from back when we were kids?
Yes.
Okay. So even as a child who's probably like 10 years old, maybe, I couldn't help but think, holy crap, this thing's incredibly unsafe, because you're pulling out these little, metal trays that you put the goop into, and it cures the little rubber monsters. This thing had a earlier version from 1964 called the Thing Maker. Did either of you ever get a hold of a Thing Maker back in your younger and more vulnerable years?
No.
No. I do have a right here, a Dr. Dreadful lab though,
Yes,
which was the
nice.
same thing. And we have all the original packets. I made some with my kid last
No
year.
doubt. Were they
They-
edible?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, wow.
as in
I guess
you
it's gelatin,
could,
right?
you could eat them. It was not suggested after a bite.
Wow.
Yeah.
But, like,
Yeah. It's like
we
everybody that had
did. We
crystal.
made some and like tasted them and stuff. Made a few packets because like my parents saved everything. We had open packets that were rubber banded closed and put in
I
Ziploc
love
baggies
it.
in there. And I'm like, I don't even
Amazing.
have to open the other ones, so I still
You can
have
save
unopened
these for
packs.
longer.
Exactly. Because we weren't going to eat more. I'm not going to throw
Yeah.
them away, so I just put it back
Uh,
in packaged.
Wow, that's amazing. I remember the commercial for that toy. That was you taking creepy crawlers and Easy Bake Oven and slamming it together, and you made
it's
Dr.
like
Dreadful.
multiple different things. You can make your own sauce in the little cauldron with this, mix
Yeah,
A and B,
yeah.
and with mix C and D, you could make this one. And
Mhm.
oh god,
Dude,
there was a mold making one. You could make a skeleton and like inject it into a mold. So I really wanted to do that with the kid. And, like, it was super cool. I'm like, this is just
Dude,
like
that
Dad
is
does
rad.
with toys. Only we get
Pretty
to
much.
eat these guys.
yeah, these are the few that you can put in your mouth, but we don't recommend it. Well, the
So
Thing
good.
Maker came out. The Thing Maker came out in 1964, consisting of several die-cast metal molds that resembled various bugs and monsters and stuff like that. You would then, inject the plastic goop into the different holders, and then you'd insert them into a machine that heated up to 199 degrees Celsius. That's 390 Fahrenheit. 390 degrees Fahrenheit. Why in God's name would any child be given that? I hope it had some kind of creepy, like pot holders that came with it, but I highly doubt it.
That's how you make men. If you die, well, you're not the best of us.
It separates the men from the children.
Yeah.
Looking up stuff for this, multiple runs of Easy Bake Ovens have had to be recalled over the years because they were dangerous and either like kids' hands would get stuck in it and then burned because they're like wired to heat the bulb more than it would normally, so it runs on like a 100-watt light bulb that'll heat up to over 350. Exactly. Right. But the bulb heats up to over 350. So like around it, it's as hot as inside an oven. And they would kids are kids, so they'd stick their hands in there, and then like with the tracks and doors, it was real easy to get stuck and then just toasted. Like, oh my God, I never heard about this.
Like a Schlotsky's, you just stick your hand right in. Oh my God.
I mean, kids are kids, but like, dude, I don't want to even, you don't stick your hand in there.
Yeah. This Christmas, when I go to my parents' house, I'm going to have to pop down to the basement and see if they still have the thing maker. My brother and I had one. Again, awesome. I think it was probably a garage sale find. Unless my parents were just into making pencil toppers, of monster heads. They might have been into it. I don't know. But like this so thing, Creepy Crawlers is already unsafe, but like Thing Maker was out of this world. Like my dad would be like, all right, everybody stand back. You guys have to wait for this thing to cool. And he'd take the little, iron die cast or die cut, whatever, molds, and he'd put them in like a whole different room. And we couldn't even go in there for like an hour until it cooled down because this thing was like unsanctioned, incredibly dangerous. But yeah, it's what was later bought.
Awesome. I want one.
Yeah, dude. I'm sure you can find one over on, eBay somewhere.
I'm sure.
I'm sure whatever chemical they use is probably incredibly dangerous, full of lead paint. But that's okay, boys.
Just lead paint.
That's all it was. Yep. Mixed with some gelatin. Well, it's okay. We're going to take our Easy Bake Oven and our Dr. Dreadful and our Creepy Crawlers. We're even going to grab the Thing Maker and we're going to shove them in the backest recess of your mind because, boys, our final toy we're going to talk about tonight takes the cake on this one. The Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Laboratory. Preston, if you would, our final photo of the night.
You got it, dog.
You're the best.
I try.
As if lead toys and lead paint were dangerous enough, this toy was downright maniacal. And if you thought Creepy Crawlers and Easy Bake Ovens were safety hazards, well, the Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Laboratory seems downright terrifying. First off, one of the main components of the Gilbert Atomic Energy Lab was uranium. Like literal uranium. This toy was released in 1950, and the kit provided kids with everything they needed to conduct more than 150 experiments, including 4 types of uranium ore, and not only beta, but also beta, alpha, and gamma radiation sources. Other fun instruments that could be found in the lab included a cloud chamber that allowed the viewer to watch alpha particles traveling at 12,000 miles per second, hang on a second here, a spinthroscope that showed the results of radioactive disintegration on fluorescent screens that you could watch atoms decay, and of course, your very own Geiger counter. Among the various activities you could do with this badass playset, the kit actually suggested playing hide and seek with the gamma ray source, challenging any participating player to use the Geiger counter to go locate the radioactive sample which their friend or sibling would hide in a random room in the house. The 60-page instruction booklet also offered a guide to prospecting for uranium. That's right, kids. You could go on your very own uranium hunt in your own backyard.
Wow.
Now, apparently it was already... It's amazing, right?
Yeah, I was like, I thought those were specific places. Like, you just... Can I just go mine for uranium in my backyard?
The booklet makes it sound so easy. Now, apparently, apparently it was already known at the time that this toy... wow, man, I made it this far. Now, apparently, it was already known at the time this toy was released that uranium was incredibly radioactive, and that radiation was incredibly harmful, but that didn't stop the A.C. Gilbert Company from releasing these bad boys into the general public. See, back in 1927, Hermann Joseph Muller discovered that radiation could cause harmful mutations, and he had won a Nobel Prize for related research in 1946, just 4 years before they gave out this playset to every 9-year-old so they could have their very own How to Make Yourself into Incredible Hulks kits.
So this is,
But be that as it may.
in college.
Mhm.
So like with like raku glazes and like saga firing, I actually used powdered uranium in a lot of raku glazes, and I also use uranium oxide to get like different effects on firing processes. And I just want to say I'm still
No
alive.
shit.
I didn't turn into the Hulk. Nothing fell off. So I don't know.
That's awesome. I want to see what that.
I don't know that was necessarily safe, but like I have like this raku glaze called moon dust, and there are like certain sections of it that you get this very beautiful kind of green yellowish aura. And yeah, that was the powdered uranium. That I mean, it's like super fucking expensive, but the guy's like, hey, you should probably use a respirator when mixing that up. And they're like, yeah, it gives off like gamma rays or whatever, but they're so weak, you'll be fine. And I'm like, okay. But then you're thinking like you're heating
Just
that
don't put it between your legs.
Yeah, you're heating that shit up to over like 1,000 degrees and pulling it out like red hot. Like you would think that heating that up would cause like the scientists in my mind, like I would think that would that heat would cause a reaction that's unsafe. But I mean, I'm still alive, so I did it for like 2 years straight.
Yeah, it's not hot enough.
Yeah, so I'm still here. That's all I want to say. So I mean,
have you looked at? Oh, have you looked at those under a black light? Do they glow with the uranium in there?
You know,
Like
I never have. So that might be
you totally should.
Because Wednesday I'm having a kiln delivered to the house, and so I've recently gotten back into ceramics and stuff to be able to fire, and I purchased all the different oxides, so that might be something in the future that you know, I'll get some uranium oxide and let's see if it glows. You know, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, because isn't there like that is it uranium glass, that green glass that you see in thrift stores and stuff?
Yeah,
and that stuff totally glows in a black light.
Oh,
I bet those glazes look cool.
We'll give it a shot. I'm gonna die for science.
You gotta do.
I mean, wear a respirator, wear a freaking radiation suit, dude. Like,
Homer Simpson. Just put on your radiation
I want to see
suit.
it, but like, be safe. But I want to see it.
We've come a long ways away from the US 238 Gilbert kits, dude. Have some brains about you. Also, do me a favor. The first pot you make and that you fire up with that uranium glaze, throw a couple spiders in that for like a weekend, and then just drop one into my pants and see if it bites me and see what happens. You know?
All right, Spider-Man.
Yeah, come on. That's my origin story. Yeah, Preston made me this really cool pot, and then a spider crawled in it and died, and then I scooped the spider out and came to life and bit my hand, and now I'm spiders, man.
Zombie man.
Right. Well, even after this guy wins a Nobel Prize, 4 years later, they still drop this kit that contained uranium as one of the main... hold on, I lost my track here. Ingredients in the kit. But that goes without saying that the makers must have thought about this strongly, because they put a very strongly worded warning on the box. Because in bold letters, it said, users should not take ore samples out of the jars, for they tend to flake and crumble, and you would run the risk of having radioactive ore spread out in your laboratory.
Or living room, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Don't throw it at your sister. Also, on the box, it said all radioactive materials included in the Atomic Energy Lab have been certified as completely safe by Oak Ridge Laboratories, part of the Atomic Energy Commission. But be that as it may, apparently the warning wasn't enough to stop the Atomic Energy Lab from getting shelved. It was pulled in 1951 after selling less than 5,000 units. That could have also been the fact that this thing retailed for like $49 back then, which is somewhere around like $500 to $600 a pop. So I mean, like, I think you could buy a new Bonneville for that amount of money too. So it's like,
Fuck yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was probably like a better deal for somebody who wanted to train in that field as an adult than it was an actual child's toy.
Yep. Yep. My brother years ago had a pretty cool rock collection, and one of the things he had was a carded chunk of uranium that was like shrink wrapped. And when I was a kid, I remember grabbing it one day thinking, oh my God, I read about uranium in school. And on the back of it, it's like, not actual uranium sample, just shown to give you an idea what size a sample would actually be. Like, motherfuck. Oh, that's probably
All
smart
sealed
now.
up and everything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
oh shit. I
Oh,
mean, you can
God.
still get them on Amazon and stuff for Geiger counter testers and to calibrate your Geiger counters and stuff like that. You can get particular test samples
Really?
and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, things that make you go, huh?
Yeah. And exactly, they're all, 4 people in the field and 4 people that are doing these things. But I'm like, yeah, you can still buy sample size things for purposes like that.
Well, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
I'd love to see. I couldn't find any actual reports on like any fallout, pun intended, from this thing. So I'm assuming like nobody got really hurt. But there's got to be something out there where some kid, got some kind of poisoning or cancer from it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I got an electric kit when I was a kid. I don't know. I think I was 8 or something. And, to learn basic circuitry and stuff like that. And we were in Japan on a military base living in a big apartment building. They had like it was like a building that was a single wide towaway thing that was the dumpster for the whole apartment building. And so me and my buddies would go in there and find like TVs and VCRs and stuff that people had thrown away. And then we would walk down to the park and stand on the picnic tables and smash them in the excuse of looking for electronic parts to like mess around with an experiment. But really, we were just having fun hurling garbage that we found.
For science.
Like, that's really crazy. Yeah, for science. In the name of science is what we tell our parents.
There was that story we shared, Presto. I can't remember what episode it was, but like there were people that bought or found an X-ray machine or some kind of hospital machinery, and they broke it open and they found a bunch of like glowing ore inside of it, and they made like necklaces and jewelry. Like one girl put it on her face because it would cause her to glow, and like they all died.
I heard. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super sad. There's another story a buddy told me about who actually lived over in Germany during the Chernobyl explosion, and he was telling me a story about, like, unrelated to Chernobyl. There were guys that found another like X-ray tech or radiation machine from some like defunct hospital, and they made like jewelry, and they were like these like mafioso gangbangers, and they're like, man, imagine if we hit the streets and go to these mob meetings wearing this glowing jewelry, like we're gonna get so much street cred, it's gonna be incredible. So they put on these chunks of like radioactive rocks, and they all died shortly after.
Oh my god. Cost of ignorance. Yeah.
I know, man. Yeah. How'd we survive without the internet?
Dude.
Well, Dross, man, thanks for joining us.
Glowy stuff's cool. You definitely want to wear it. And if you didn't know, you could die.
Yeah.
Well, the more you know, right?
Yeah, right. I remember as kids, like, we'd get glow sticks, and my dumb friends would crack it, shake it up, and then, cut the top off and pour it on themselves at the skating rink. And I'm sure that was probably all sorts of toxic as well.
Oh no, I got it all over. Like, so
like,
around
we're good.
Oh man, so around around that same age, whatever, kid had a glow stick, and I got an oral fixation. I chew on stuff all the time. I'm used to be a smoker, now vaping all the time, whatever. But I discovered I was chewing on the end of one for whatever reason, and it was cracking. And thinking now, it was just breaking more of the thing. It wasn't releasing more, but in my head then, it was like releasing more of the chemical, and so it was going to glow more. the more I cracked up the stuff. I thought that the breaking apart of it was the more stuff.
Yeah.
And I popped the top off in my mouth.
Oh no.
Like 8 years old, and ran to the bathroom and like closed the door and like glowing mouth all over and just spitting as hard as you could, trying to clean it out, but it's just glowing everywhere, all over your teeth.
Wasn't there broken glass in there too? Wasn't it like a glass tube that you crack and that's what separates the two chemicals?
Either that didn't get in my mouth or it didn't cut me up bad enough and I spit it out. Like, I didn't notice that part. So I think there is, but I didn't get that in my mouth. But yeah, it was horrifying at that age because I like was in there spitting out and didn't turn on the light. Maybe because I was in a hurry. Maybe because I wanted to see too.
We'll call it both.
It was, dude, it was glowing all up in the mouth.
Amazing. My best friend from high school. One night we were over at my wife's house. We were still dating at the time, but we were out in her backyard with her parents. And Devin grabbed a handful of lightning bugs and threw them in his mouth. And when they all flashed, he bit down on them, and his whole mouth was glowing for several minutes.
That is crazy.
I know.
That's awesome.
Savage.
Yeah, exactly. That's brutal. It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh God, man. I remember, speaking of like running to the bathroom, screaming in toys, I found this like toy dagger once at the playground, and so I took it home with me. And my brother used to put together model cars, and I knew he had all sorts of like razor blades and knives. And I don't know what it was. But one morning at like 8 a.m, I'm watching Saturday morning cartoons, and I get this wild hair up my ass of like, wait, if I take the razor blade and cut this thing in half, I'll have 2 swords. I'll have 2 fake knives. So I grabbed this razor blade. I made it all the way around the actual blade, which is like super thin, like, flimsy plastic. And when I get to the handle, the blade stuck. And so I jerked on it, and it split from the tip of my thumb all the way down to the back knuckle. Just laid my thumb open, dude. And the instant thought was, I ran to the bathroom, slammed the door, and just looked in the mirror like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I mean, just cold water, Band-Aids, bleeding out. So finally, I go to my mom and wake her up, and I'm just like, Mom, and it was just a whole fucking thing, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think my dad just super glued it shut. It definitely probably would have needed stitches, but I'm pretty sure Dad just super glued it shut and put a bunch of Band-Aids on it.
Yeah, I'm like, I do a lot of trimming with an X-Acto knife on toys, trimming off flash, trimming little pore spouts and vents and stuff. And dude, my thumbs almost always have little lines from where I'm hitting, either on there or on there, if it misses or if you hit and you're with a razor blade, it goes straight through, makes a straight cut. They're not cool.
Yeah, it's impressive. Yeah. Yeah, I cut the pad of my index finger off once when in design school with an X-Acto knife. Just quick, fast, in a hurry. And next thing you know, I'm like, why is my finger so cold? I look down, and it's just a fountain. It's really impressive.
Yep.
Oh, Jesus, man. Well, buddy, thank you so much for joining us on this episode, man. This has been a blast. We got to have you back on again here sometime real soon.
Oh, definitely. Anytime, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's definitely a blast. I love talking to you guys, talking toys, spooky stuff.
And now that we got Discord going, it's going to be even easier. We don't have to keep on shutting off Zoom and loading back into a new call.
Yeah, we get that. But no, this was super easy. Worked out great. Thank you so much.
Most def, dude. Go ahead and plug your socials too, man. Where can people find you?
Oh, yeah, I'm Baba_Drock on Instagram, and that's DROC on Instagram, and I'm at Drock Toy and Novelty, all one word, DRAWK, that way, just so you can pronounce it the same, however you spell it.
Phonetically.
So, yeah, Drock Toy and Novelty is where you can get all sorts of stuff. I got quite a few pages of cool art toys like the ones you see right there on Sean's desk. Boom, boom, boom. And all over behind me, mixed in with all sorts of different artists. So,
yep, hell yeah.
Yeah, come check them out. I got, I think I still got Christmas, all sorts of stuff discounted for Christmas. So, come check it out.
Shit, yeah, definitely. And if you guys are on the Instagram, check us out, PXL Paranormal. On Facebook, we are the Pixelated Paranormal Podcast. Presto, talk to me about YouTube real quick, man. Where are we at?
Wow, 298 subscribers. Like, we're literally
shit.
2 away from like 300. What better way to ring in the new year and celebrate 2024 than to have 300 followers on YouTube? So I don't know. Pay attention to the bottom of the screen, and when you see that little, green Toxic Crusader, come drop that says like and subscribe. I don't know. Follow that fucking direction. Like and subscribe and share with all your friends. That's all I'm saying. 16 followers on Rumble. Thank you, conspiracy nuts and all you wacky cuckoos out there. We appreciate the 16 of you that are following us. We love you. Keep it up. Share with all your friends. 4 followers on Kick. I don't know. Maybe it's taken off. Maybe it's not. 2 followers on Twitch. That's a thing. It's actually up. I think I figured it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, Kick, Rumble, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. Watch the show live in all of its glory and all of our fuck-ups. Like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. So.
Hell yeah.
Now,
Hell yeah, man.
Speaking of healthy stuff, attention all Bigfoot enthusiasts and fans of the supernatural, we have a special announcement just for you. Introducing My Daily Naturals, the ultimate solution to cleanse your gut and keep your body in balance. Picture this, Bigfoot roaming through the forest, searching for the perfect vitamins to support his legendary physique. Well, look no further. My furry friends, because My Daily Naturals has got you covered with the power of ozone and essential minerals, your gut will be cleansed, your cellular function will be optimized like never before. But that's not all. We know that a healthy gut needs the right stuff, so My Daily Natural helps you repopulate your gut flora with a perfect blend of natural elements. Say goodbye to digestive woes and say hello to easy digestion. Nature is normal, just like Bigfoot himself. That's why My Daily Naturals is dedicated to providing you with the finest, most natural ingredients to support your body's balance. It's like the forest feast for your gut. And here's the best part. By using promo code PXLPARA at checkout, you'll not only be taking care of your own health, but you'll be supporting your favorite podcast. It's a win-win situation, folks. So whether you're watching us on Facebook, YouTube, turning into the radio, check out the comments or description for the link to My Daily Naturals. Remember, My Daily Naturals, keeping Bigfoot and your gut happy, one vitamin at a time. And if you need a beard, if you want a beard, if you want to grow the best goddamn beard possible, attention bearded brethren, we have a message that will make your facial hair rejoice. We are introducing Big Dob's Beard Balm 2.0, the beard butter that will have your beard more swole than Beastman himself. Picture this, you're strutting down the street and suddenly even Prince Adam, for you non-nerds, He-Man, can't help but be envious of your luscious, majestic beard. That's the power of Big Dob's Beard Balm 2.0. But wait, there's more. Our beard butter is so incredible that even the Toxic Crusader, Swamp Thing, and the mighty G.I. Joe will be left in awe. It's like a supernatural team-up for your beard. We know you want your beard to be as strong as steel, and that's why we've infused Big Dob's Beard Balm 2.0 with essentials oils like bay rum, fresh, citrus, mint, classic, and sweet tobacco. It's the secret ingredient that will make He-Man himself feel weak in the knees. And here's the best part. Use promo code PXLPARA at checkout, and you'll get yourself a whopping 20% off your order. That's right, a discount fit for a bearded champion just like yourself. Don't settle for ordinary when you can be extraordinary. Say goodbye to lackluster beards and say hello to the power of Big Dob's Beard Balm 2.0. Your beard will thank you, and so will your inner superhero. Remember, PXLPARA for an amazing 20% discount. Get your hands on Big Dob's Beard Balm 2.0 today and let your beard become the stuff of legends.
My God, man, they get more and more professional each time.
I surprised myself, really. I mean, Alan, you motherfucker, I do it for you.
You gotta give me some jobs, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, hit it up. You got the longest beard in the room right now, Drock. Well, if you're in the Wichita area, please stop by, see Leslie and the rest of the gang over at CD Trade Post, Pawnee and Seneca, and also check out Paranormal Egg Experience, Food Truck, and Paranormal.cafe as well. All right, Drock, thanks again, man, for coming. We sure appreciate you joining us, talking all
buddy.
things toys.
It was fun. I like it.
Oh man, me too. I had such a good time. Thank you guys so much. Seriously, anytime.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Times.
All right. And with that, I'm going to raise this can of zombie monkey and say cheers to the weird shit in the world and those of us that love to talk about it.
And stay spooky and stay on the paranormal highway.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. Email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.